days. Catflap Chats, episode 91. So this will be out, where are we now? It's Tuesday today, isn't it? It'll be out next Monday. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, so or half 11. Normally, Tiny Red will give me a couple of beers every episode. But I feel like I shouldn't probably crack one open at half 11 in the morning.
Well, unless you're in an airport, then you could have, can you? But by the way, yeah. I think your guests should be sent the same as well. Some tiny
I can get you some Tiny Rebels, pal. I'm in. You're living over in Gloucester, aren't you, at the moment? Oh, by the way, it's Nicky Robinson, former Wales, Cardiff Blues, Cardiff, Gloucester, Wasps, Bristol, Iron Axe player. Thank you for coming on. I was going to introduce you, but we ended up chatting shit again. So
sorry, I jumped in, didn't I? I jumped in when you got a can of lager in front of you. So I thought, well,
excited.
Well, where's mine? You can't be just having them and showing off like that.
No. So I think I mentioned to you last time after I had a couple of beers, that classic, like, oh, I know someone who knows you. I'm over in Gloucester quite a bit, so I can bring you some down next time. Not a problem, pal.
Okay, mate.
I'll get onto them for you. But yeah, Tony will give you a couple of beers. But I'm not going to have one today, so big thanks to them.
What is that one? What is that one?
Peaches and cream.
Oh, not sure.
It's like a tropical, like peachy one. It's quite nice. Like I don't like lager too much. So like strong lagers, I don't really like them that much. Like a Peroni's probably as far as I'll go. But I like I don't know, like a crisp like Budweiser maybe, or something a bit lighter. Heineken, something a bit lighter than that probably.
Yeah.
But these, like, since I've been having these, we get into them quite well. They do a nice lager. They do a nice lime, like key lime lager as well, which is lovely.
I do like trying different ones. I've done a few bits with it as a brewery out in West London, and I've hosted a few events, and I've sent beers out, and they're all different ones. But it's quite nice to try different ones. But the only problem is when you have different ones, is when people come round, then normally you just say on one drink, don't you?
Yeah,
and if you haven't got a lot of them, then you're jumping around from different one. So, but yeah, I'm more of a Moretti.
I do like Moretti.
San Miguel as well. My golf club do a really good San Miguel with the dash is lovely as well. Although I went to watch the cricket. Took my lads to watch the cricket, the 100 game in Edgbaston, and they sell them Prava there. I don't know if I've had Prava before, but it was really good.
Oh, lovely!
Really
I like Moretti.
Yeah.
Where do you play golf?
Cotswold Hills, it's called, in Cheltenham.
Gloucester, I've played a couple of times.
Yeah, I've never played that one.
Yeah, it's all right. It's, my mate's a member there. It's all right, quite open. If you're wayward a little bit, you can find the ball, which is helpful.
Always helpful. Yeah. Me both.
So what's going on then, pal? What's news? What have you been up to the last sort of 18 months when the world has been in chaos? I saw you hosting an event the other day. With a couple of people at the event, with a couple of people at the Blues for the Lions. Like, what's news and what's been going on in the world? Yeah, and I
definitely wasn't hosting. That was, I don't think you can host or be at a Lions event when you're on standby. I mean, your stories aren't great about you being on standby, are they? Whereas Lee Byrne was there, wasn't he? With who else? Oh God,
Rob Jones.
With Rob Jones, and Rob Jones is telling these great stories about. Was it the one in Australia when they were fighting, and there was stamping on Nick Farr-Jones?
I think.
Yeah, and then Bernie talk about like how he got injured in the first test, was it, or one of the games, and how he talk about all the line stuff. And then like, if I'm there going, oh yeah, I got a letter, I was on standby. That was it. And I went on holiday to the Maldives instead. That was it. They called up James Hook. That was it. Yeah, that would be my line story. So no, but I was there. As a guest, my brother had the table, and we both kind of shared a table and invited a few people. So it was good, and that's where we met, mate, wasn't it? That was it, our first date.
It was our first date. I think I had a few more beers than you, to be honest. But
mate. By the way, so I'd had a few, and I had to get the last train home to Cheltenham. I didn't have to. Obviously, I could do what I want. I could stay out as late as I can, like even until like 11 o'clock if I wanted to. But anyway, so I've gone back. I've got the last train back from Central. It was carnage, Cardiff Central, absolute carnage. I mean, I've done it before on International Day, and that's carnage. You expect it to be, but this day there were people like honestly falling asleep standing up on the station. There's a guy. I got on the train to Cheltenham, which obviously goes towards Newport as a first stop. So I get on the train, and it's quite busy. And there's a guy sleeping on the floor. So anyway, so we start moving. I'll wake him up when we get to Newport. So I've woken him up and he's gone. He's zonked. So I've given him a good shake. And he's woken up and I've gone, mate, we're at Newport. Is this your stop? Due to get off here? And he's gone, no. I'm going to Bridgend. And I was like, mate, that's the opposite direction. He went, no, Bridgend. And then went back to sleep. And there's half of me going, I just leave him then. Sod you, I'm trying to help you. You wake up in Gloucester, pal, and see how much it costs me to get back from there. So anyway, I've gone, no, I was shaking him again. He goes, what's your name? He's gone, Hugh. I'm like, Hugh, we're in Newport. Bridgend is the opposite way. Get off the train. And the doors have now closed. I've literally gone, open the door, and the guy's going, what's the matter? I've gone, there's a guy on here who needs to go to Bridgend. So got him off. I was like, geez, I thought I was pissed compared to everyone else. I was just so brisk. Went on there. It was mental. Anyway,
I'd have left him. I'd have absolutely left him. 100%.
I know, there's a part of me a good story, wouldn't it? But then, to be fair, once you get to Gloucester, that at 10 o'clock, whatever, there's no going back apart from taxi, and he's definitely wasn't staying at my house anyway. So
imagine the Uber. That would be.
No. Well, I've woken up at Bristol Temple Meads before on the way back from London, because you're supposed to the last train to Cheltenham, you have to change at Swindon.
Yeah.
And I've kind of set my alarm thinking, I'll get a taxi from Swindon, and then I've got a nudge then, and guy's gone. I was like, where am I? We're in Bristol Temple Meads, and I was at Lutton, and that's a taxi from Bristol Temple Meads to Cheltenham. That wasn't good, mate.
Oh, so that's not too far though, is it?
Well, it's about
miles?
Well, I know it's 130 quid's worth, so I don't know how many miles it is, but that's how many pounds it was. And the night in the spare room. Yeah. Good day, though. It's always after a good day, though.
Hey, look, it's worth it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Sorry, mate.
No, that's all right. What's life been like then? What have you been up to? So obviously, since, finishing playing and a bit of coaching, bit of TV work and stuff, what else have you been up to?
Yeah. So, obviously coaching with the Blues was great. And then obviously the punditry stuff has been great. Although unfortunately, more players are retiring now, which isn't helping my gig at all. It was like when Martin Williams retired, and then about a year later, Warby retired, didn't he? And Nugget's like, oh no, that's it, all his work gone. But luckily, obviously Nug's gone and done his team manager stuff now. But I love that. I do work as an agent, so look after some boys doing that, which has been good. And then I do some business development work for an insurance broker as well. So which I took a few clients to the Lions game there. So that's good. So still a bit different, and obviously the media stuff has been great as well. Even last year, obviously when the games were back on, it was great. Apart from the no crowds, which was obviously difficult, but getting in and out of the game was absolutely magic, because there's zero traffic going in or out or anything. So that was good. So hopefully do some more of that next season as well. And to be fair, it's one of those ones I really enjoy doing it, because you still get that, not buzz of going to a game, but you still get that excitement of going to the game, and the amount of boys you catch up with, players who are now coaching and everything, and some DORs that were your DORs. So every game you go to, you're always bumping into someone and having a good crack. Some of the games are terrible, but you don't mind that, mate. And actually you just go, oh, well, it's a terrible game, and then drive off, rather than, God, I've played terribly and I'm going to think about this for the next 3 days. So that stuff's good.
You mentioned about like terrible games. I think in the Northern Hemisphere, especially at the moment, there's this whole thing on Twitter. I don't know how active you are on various socials, but Welsh Twitter is an interesting place, shall we say. And there's this thing about rugby's dead in the South Africa Lions. And then you look at New Zealand and Australia and even France, Australia and stuff. And do you watch a lot of rugby now that you've, 15, 16 years playing, you coach there? And do you watch a lot of it now, or are you kind of just like, if you're involved because there's media commitments, you'll watch a bit and do some analysis leading up to it, but that's kind of it now?
Yeah, obviously watch as much as I can analysis wise. But you also try and watch a game and just enjoy it, rather than watching it on your laptop looking for clips and things like that, because you want to enjoy and you get more appreciation of a game. So I think to be fair, it was hard last year when there wasn't crowds there. I think those games, and I think it's the same when I love watching football. If there's a Champions League game on, Chelsea or Man City are playing someone, I'll watch it. Whereas when there's no crowds, I wasn't really watching it. So I think if you're, as a casual viewer, you weren't kind of really that interested in it, and obviously the atmosphere in the crowds really helped that. So some of the rugby games, you did kind of fall out of that kind of Friday night, especially if you watch English games, which I don't tend to work much on or very little. So that Friday night game, you maybe wouldn't, especially if you've got family commitments and everything else. You would normally just be able to sit there and watch it. Whereas now you tend to be doing other things. Would I record a game, watch it back? Probably not. But like I think the Lions thing is like I played golf with my lad last night and then stopped off afterwards. And first conversation with some guys I knew is Lions. So it's definitely the topic of conversation. But unfortunately, it's not a kind of positive, God, what a great Lions tour that was. So I think there's obviously that negativity at the moment. What can change quickly is a great autumn international, isn't it? The teams that Wales are playing, obviously with the big three and Fiji, with a full stadium, then hopefully that can kind of turn things around. Because although we did well in the Six Nations, and there were some really good games in there, again, without those atmospheres, that then you kind of do lose that bit of that added buzz of what a match is, because it's not just the game, it's the whole occasion, isn't it? The noise and everything, that whether you're there or watching at home. I do think that negative rugby that we saw during the Lions, and I was desperately hoping for a third test where things did open up, but that was never going to happen with the way that South Africa were playing and the way that Lions, to be fair, did try and play a little bit more in that third test. I know that was their plan, and I think Finn Russell's come out, hasn't he, and said they wanted to, and they probably should have a bit more, which is no surprise that players come out and said that. But you don't blame a coach for, if you're going to go and just try and chuck it around and see what happens. Well, it could have been 3-0, couldn't it, if they'd gone around? We'll never know. But I guess for kind of us as I say, casual viewers, would we have liked to see a really entertaining 3-0 loss to the Lions or a tight 2-1 battle of that? I mean, we'd never be happy, would we? Let's be honest.
No,
so
exactly.
What's your view on it? What do you think of rugby and where we are? And because actually the New Zealand Australia game was incredible, wasn't it, on the weekend? 78 points or something.
I like so. I'm English, born and bred, moved here, so I've got a real strong affinity for Wales, but I obviously support England first, and it frustrates me sometimes where he wants to match teams player for player in terms of physicality, because I love players who can play a bit and they play what's in front of them. So I'm of that third test sort of vibe rather than that first test vibe. But then there is something about when you watch the All Blacks Australia didn't win, but they played well in parts. And I don't know what it is about those two teams in particular. And even when you look at teams like France and Fiji, it's not about the collision necessarily. They've got big players in there, don't get me wrong, but it's almost like their first thing isn't the collision. It's where's the space, where can we put someone through the gap, whatever. And when you look at South Africa, they've got players who can play, but they just want to physically batter people. I'm a casual, I'm not one of those on Twitter abusing people, but I am a casual fan. I get to see the insides of clubs sometimes because I know one or two people, but I would have loved to have seen them probably play a bit more. But with I like Bigger. Bigger played so well in the Six Nations, so play with Bigger, but play a bit more. I probably would have taken a Ringrose or a Slade to give you that option. Bundyaki, I don't know why, never done anything wrong, but just not his biggest fan. I'd rather have taken a Slade. A Manu, if you're going to take him, unfortunately he wasn't fit, but I could understand why you would take a Manu. I'd have kept Henshaw and then probably played a Ringrose or a Slade. Just play a bit more like. But then, what the fuck do I know? I've coached Lando under 19s for a couple of seasons about 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh, look,
I still enjoy it. Like, and I can't wait to get back live watching games. I think Principality is the best stadium in the world, especially when there's 80,000 people going absolutely bananas in there. Like, I go to Twickenham, it just isn't the same. I don't get it being English. I don't get the same enjoyment there for this anthem. I can't stand the anthem for one, but I just don't get the same enjoyment as I do in the Principality.
Yeah,
and it is special. Like I've watched All Black South Africa in Wellington, and I've been fortunate in my experiences. But we got a real opportunity with the team that Pivac's bringing through for Wales to really kick on and play some really attractive rugby, whilst doing well at the basics as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's right. Look, South Africa are the biggest rugby nation in the world, aren't they? As in physically, and that's their identity, and that's what they're good at. And if you try and beat them at that, I think you're going to come unstuck. And I think that's what happened with the Lions. You have to find your own identity, but that's a lot easier with a national side or a club side, isn't it?
Yeah.
You listen to Danny Kerr on five scrum on the Rugby Union podcast and saying, well, their identity, the way they played. But yeah, that's come about not by 1 or 2 weeks training. That's months of training, and they get to a point where they can play, and that suited them. The Lions didn't have that luxury of being able to do that. But I do think with Wales that there is hope that we're never going to be a side that really batters teams. I know under Gatland we did, in that we had powerful runners, and that was kind of how we beat. But we beat side, but we did have the ability to move the ball and play a bit as well. We haven't got those players now that we all know. Your Jamie Roberts, your Alex Cuthbert. I know George will hopefully come back, but those are kind of those players. John Davis would be able to really be physical. We're not going to have them, and I think with the coaches we've got, we are going to look to move a bit. And I've been optimistic from the start. I think Stephen Jones is going to be a brilliant coach for us. But he just needs a bit of time, which he'll definitely get to do that. And those players coming through, whether those players are good enough. Obviously, they're disappointing in the summer, some of those games against Argentina, but that was because physically we couldn't cope. Argentina just steamrolled us, and you've got to have that physicality. You've got to have a set piece to be able to do it and to be able to play any way you want. Otherwise, you're just playing off scraps and chucking the ball, hoping you're going to win, and you're not going to win enough games then by just hoping and just chucking around, because inevitably you're going to play in crap weather, and you're going to have a scrum and a line out, so you're going to have people to get you over the game line. That's the fundamentals of rugby, and that is a lot of it is physicality.
I still think Wales have got those players where even some of them might be coming towards the tail end of their Wales careers in some respects. You've still got, there's good crop of youngsters coming through. You look at your Wainwrights, and then your experienced players like Navidi, who's still going to be around for a few years. They are players that can dominate collisions and win tackles and win that game line. But then it's, how long is Bigger going to be around for? Who's the next in line? Anscombe hopefully is coming back to a bit of fitness now, and will get a run of games because he was class. He was untouchable for that period around the Grand Slam. Jared Evans and people like that. Like, there are players there who can play and want to play. So I feel like Wales, it's frustrating, isn't it? They can beat a team by 30 points or lose by 30 points. Like, and it's just that consistency, I suppose, of I'm of the opinion where I would probably rather win 5 games by 1 point and take a Grand Slam than lose by 15 points but have played really, really well, because you can build on that, because winning is a habit. But again, I've never been in that professional environment, so that's me sat in my armchair having a few beers, watching the game, speaking to 1 or 2 players, and it's not the same for me. So I don't know whether that's the right philosophy or not.
Well, you're right in that winning is a habit, and winning gives you confidence to be able to hopefully play a bit more. I think we saw that in the last 6 stations, wasn't it? Obviously losing to Ireland. We lost to Ireland. God, I'm trying to think of lost to Ireland.
Yeah.
No, we beat Ireland, didn't we? Jesus.
How long ago that was? Scotland with the red card.
Yeah, beat Ireland, beat Scotland, but we didn't play particularly well in any of those games. But then we did start to play better, didn't we? Where you see the bit of the confidence coming in there, and you go in. God, Wales could literally have got the wooden spoon if you looked at how the games had gone. And then obviously to beat England with a few controversial decisions, and actually after 60 minutes thinking England will win this. But that ability then to keep that going and be interested to see now, because obviously we did really well in the 6th stage, obviously losing the Grand Slam in the last play of the game ever against France away. Yeah. And we know how good France are, to then everyone goes off for the summer, and then we lose to Argentina 2-0, beat Canada, fine. But then how is that going to continue into the autumn? Is that confidence still there of those players? I think it will be. I think kind of there's players that came through in the summer games. They got more game time. I think sometimes losing is the best way for young players to learn. Beating Canada 78, whatever it was, or 58, I can't remember the score, beating them easily, you're not going to learn much. Losing 2-0 to Argentina, some of those forwards will go, wow, that's a shock. That's where I need to get to. That's what Test rugby is going to be like. So, look, I think there's some youngsters there with talent, but are they the ones that are going to become your John Foxes, your Dan Biggers, your Josh Navi, the ones who are consistently performing international level. And that's their challenge, is to go, I've done all right at regional rugby. I've had a bit of a shot away. Oh, I've done all right. Who are the ones that then go, boom, this is me. This is where I'm meant to play. And that's the ones, I guess, what Pivac and Steve Jones and John Humphreys have got to work out now. And we haven't got that long until the next World Cup.
No, exactly. And like, part of that then, does it come from, and I'd love a factor on today, because I'd love to get your opinion on England and Wales in terms of the domestic leagues, obviously the Pro 14 and the English league. Like, a lot of that comes from, you look at the English league, there's so many players playing across all the different teams because there's so many more teams. So England have got naturally the pick of more players because of the size of the country. You look at Wales, you've got the 4 regions. They don't like players playing outside of Wales. So they want to try and protect them a little bit in terms of game management and so on and so forth. Like, as a man who's excelled in both leagues, like, which is the better league to play in, and which one? Like, should Wales, like Australia have just done this week, they're going to scrap that Gitto rule of 60 caps because they need players playing outside and expose themselves in better teams. You can't tell me Dan Bigger's a worse player for going to Northampton. He can't be. Like, you look at Fox going abroad and Gareth Thomas and Stephen Jones back in the day, they come back as better people because they've had more experiences. So, like, as a player who's done both, like, what's your thoughts on the 2 leagues and that development to become that consistent, you know?
Yeah, like, it's a topic that I don't think we'll ever stop discussing. And obviously there's a huge difference in the leagues, isn't there? Now the Pro 14 is now Pro 18, isn't it, going to this season with some more South African sides. Like, I'm optimistic that this will help the league, and we've got a better quality of players now in the league. So when you're playing the Sharks, where they've got international quality players now, we all hoped when the Cheetahs came in as well. Cheetahs, and who was the other team that came in? They've gone. The Kings, was it, or was someone before that? But you thought, oh, great, some South African teams with quality players. Actually, Cheetahs were good at home, but away from home they weren't great, and the Kings were terrible and didn't really add anything. So you're hoping that these have got more quality within them. Don't forget, most of the top South African players are actually playing abroad in Japan or in France or in Europe. So there's not the quality that we've just watched. They're not all going to be there. But you do hope that will add something to it. Now, in England, it's so different because the club rugby is so important. In Wales, lots of people will support Wales.
Yeah.
Whereas in England, they support their club and then they support England. So that mentality is so different. How can Wales get, and my missus is English, and she'd go, how can you get 75,000 people to watch Wales on a Saturday in the Six Nations or an Autumn International, but then there's only 5,000 people watching regions and 4,000 watching there, and you're going, how does that make sense? And her background, she's northwest of England, so she's football stuff. So, and that it's always about the club and stuff. Well, where's that? Why aren't the people come to get that? But I know that there's lots of other reasons behind that. So how can that get better? Well, I know at time when you have success, and I was involved when the Blues, we had a really good couple of years, and we'd sell out the Arms Park weeks in a row. Sometimes it helped having Jonah Lomu playing for you as well. But we had the year when we playing in the Principality of Millennium, it was then in Europe, you get 25, 30,000 there. So the crowds are there, but we're not going to get. Look, let's be realistic. None of our regions are likely to get to a semi-final of a European Cup, and as we're standing at the moment. So back to the question of the leagues and the players. Like, I played in both. I loved going to England. I loved that week in, week out, that competitiveness, that kind of that must-win game every week. Wherever you're playing, wherever you are in the league, it's not a case of, oh, we're away this week, we'll be all right. No. Even if you're playing away the bottom team, God, we've got to win this. It's that week in, week out. And you speak to any player that's been to England or France, especially England currently, like, so your Dan Biggers, your Richard Hibbard, and we spoke to them on the Scrum 5 pod, and they go, I'm so much a better player. I would love to see other players being able to go to England and play in this league and play around these players and learn and see it from a different perspective. And actually, we know what's like. Well, you know what's like in Wales. It's a very small place. You suddenly take people who have grown up in Wales, been in an academy, gone into a team. They're so not narrow-minded, but they've only seen one way. You suddenly take them out and put them in a completely different environment with people who are looking at them so differently, then actually the amount that they can then grow up and grow as people and as players, I feel that would benefit the national team more. But I do understand as well, you suddenly lose lots of players who can't afford to be kept in Wales. They're going to play in England, then our regions become even more diluted. But then I look and go, well, actually, how competitive are we anyway at the moment? Let's be realistic. So,
and you'd be bringing players through, so you'd have more players playing at that top level.
Yeah,
and it what's one more year of not competing against Leinster, for example? But you've all of a sudden got another 5-10 players across the 4 regions who are genuinely within a shout of making Wales squads, and then pushing on for those on.
Yeah, no, you're right. And let's be realistic. We wouldn't lose 20 players to England, because English, because of the depth they've got in England, and also the EQP rules where they have to be very selective on the foreign players they have. They will look and go, well, there'd only be a few of those Welsh players they might want to take over. And you're right. Actually, how much do we see Ken Owens, John Fox, Josh, and those? How much do we see them playing for their regions anyway? Because they get taken out so much and looked after, which is great for them internationally. And okay, they're fresh and stuff, but actually, they're not adding a huge amount to their regional rugby for the amount they get paid. They don't. Sorry, I got a call coming in now. It's annoying, isn't it? Sorry, mate. So they don't. How much do they actually add to the regions anyway? So that there's that part to it as well. So look, I'm obviously biased because I left Wales and went to play in England, and I never regretted it. I loved what I did. That's why I still live in England now, because I loved what I had and what kind of gained for me and my family. So. But I think that opportunity should be there for players. If I'm honest, I think it would make us in the long term a much better rugby nation if we had the ability to do that. And actually, why don't we just make our regions that good, and the players don't want to leave Wales? Actually, they love what they've got within Wales when the region's there, and there's enough money there that they get paid well enough. It's not as if it's a minimum wage. I know they can get more if they go to France or England. I know there can be that, but actually they get well paid in Wales. Why don't you make the regions? And that's the challenge: is to go. We are that good that we don't want players to leave. We might do 1 or 2, but actually no. We were desperate for players. They want to stay in here because we're on a path to achieving some success, whether that's in the Pro 40, Pro 18, or whether that's in the Challenge Cup or something like that. That's where I think that's the challenge, to be able to do that. That it's not just about the money. It's actually what they want to stay for and what they want to believe in, not going, it's not very good here. I can get new coaches every other year, and our training facilities are crap, and so much better over there. It'll actually make those things good, and then you might get players who just want to stay because they like it here.
I think that is happening in some respects. You look at the Dragons over the last couple of years and what they've done in terms of stability and coaches, but also some of the players that are coming back to Wales as well, and some of the players they sign in. And you look at the Blues now with Die Young, you'd like to think that they're going to start to kick on a bit. I know you know them really well. You'd like to think they're going to kick on again now. They've had some recent successes in Europe, and lots of players representing Wales and the Lions and stuff. You'd like to think they've got the foundations to really kick on again and do something that competes with. I know people going about money in Ireland and stuff, but it just competes with them on a level more, not a level playing field in money wise, but just man for man. You put the 215s out, they're not that far apart. So hopefully you'd like to think they'll kick on.
I agree with you with the Dragons, obviously with Dean Ryan going in there, and he had a long-term plan. And I think that's where you need to have is, this is where we are now, and where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Not where do you want to be next season. Where do you want to be in 5 years' time, and how are we going to get there? Where there's the money constraints there. Well, what's the best way for us to do that? And that's the same whatever you do, whether in sport or business. Personally, how am I going to become fitter or faster or stronger? There's that plan. And I know we're in a world where it's about week in results, week in, week out, but actually we know we're not. That's probably the one advantage you've got in Wales is there's no relegation. There's nothing there to go, actually, we're going to for the next 2 years, this is our plan. It's not like, oh, we'll just chuck a load of youngsters in. No, but you give yourself that long-term goal. And I think that's what the Dragons are doing. You listen to Dean Ryan week in, week out from the start. As soon as he came there, it was never, oh, no, we were poor today, we lost this or that. No, our players are learning this and they're learning that. There's always a reinforcement. So this is where he knows he's realistic about the squad he's got, and this is where he wants to get to, and that takes time.
And on that, I'd say Dave Buttress above him as well. You look at the chairman, and those
they all have to be aligned, don't they? What's the point in having coaches there and players and chairmen or whatever doing different things? You're all in the same position. And if you look at the region, I know, great, Di Young's coming back, because Di wouldn't have come back and gone, I'll just see how it goes for a couple of years and then hopefully you win a few games. That he's there to, and he'll make sure the things that are around the squad are stable and they can all move forward in a way that makes it easier for him as well. So he's not putting out fires. You've got Toby Booth there at the Ospreys, and we did see some improvement from them last year. Again, an experienced coach that can hopefully give that the stability they want. They've got some new investment as well. And then you've obviously got, and now Dwayne Peel is going into the Scarlets, and that will take them a bit of time for him, an inexperienced coach as a head coach. But you're right. Now have they got the plan? Because actually, look at the Scarlet squad. They massively underachieved last year, didn't they? Let's be realistic. So actually, have we got 4 regions now that hopefully on the same page, as in know where they're trying to go, and actually can try and move forward with a good group of youngsters? Because we will always have talented youngsters here, but how can we make them from just talented youngsters at under 20s level and doing all right to then go, now we're really good regional players and are really competitive internationally as well. And that's, I guess, is down to the regions and the coaches they've got there to be able to educate them so they learn how to get better. And it's not just about chucking loads of weights around. It's about understanding rugby and how to best utilize your assets on the pitch so you become a better player and your region becomes better, and then Wales becomes a better team as well.
I've got so many questions for you. I'm always getting a bit too nosy. I can feel myself having to slow down a bit.
No, I'm waffling on as well, but I'll just, Sean Sharp, we'll do like a quick fire round if you want.
Now, do you get frustrated when you were coaching, with players who were chucking weights around and smashing weights, but then couldn't execute a 20-meter pass, or is that a myth? Are the players coming through skillful enough?
I think people like to say that and go, they prefer to go and do weights rather than the skills. But if you look at where we are as a nation, actually the skills that players have, and I've seen that when I was at the Blues, the amount of work that goes into to everybody being able to handle the ball. It's a myth that they just go, oh no, the props don't need to pass or catch or anything like that. Everyone has to do that. Now, some will naturally be better than others. You get some props. Scott Andrews at the Blues, Matt Sherratt, when he was the backs coach, wanted him in the team every week because he was literally like having another back row. He had awesome skills. Scrummaging wise, he maybe wasn't as good as someone else, as our Georgian prop, who didn't have a clue what he was doing around the park. So you cannot get to regional rugby level without having a certain level of skill. So I do think that's a myth from maybe 5 years ago but naturally, when you're 16 or 17 or 18 and you're a prop or a back row, then actually a coach doesn't go, oh, what's his handling skills like? They're like, no, what's he like in the scrum? What's he like over a ball? When is he going to be ready to play first team rugby? And I guess there's pressure on academy coaches, whatever, to make these players into athletes, because you have to be that as well. You can't just say, well, gone are the days where you can just be naturally gifted and fine. Well, naturally gifted will get you a good run around in touch, but actually when the physicality comes in, as we've spoken about, you have to have that. So that it's getting that balance. But as we said, it's always about that physicality. And someone goes, look, can he run up? Can he pick a number 8 to pick a ball off the back of the scrum and run over someone? Yes. Or can he throw a 20-meter pass off his left and right hand? I know which one every coach would prefer, and that's someone who can get you over the gain line. So as much as we like to say, they've got to have the skills, they need to have that physicality first.
Which is interesting, because then when you watch someone like Tipperick play, or even Falatau, yes, they can get gain line. Tipperick doesn't miss a tackle, but they are players who everyone goes, oh my God, Tipperick can play in the centre because he's got such good hands. But then, like you just said, if you're a 17, 18-year-old coming through, your coach wants you to smash that ruck, chop that tackle, win the collision, be physical. So it's almost like, well,
but Justin Tipuric is one of the best players in the world, skill wise and everything. And actually, when do you ever see him get really out muscled? He's not as if he's a weed, is he? So he's not someone you go, right, we'll hit Tipuric up off that and hit through a hole. You might hit him through a hole because he spots a hole and runs a nice angle. That's what he'll do differently. He's not going to go, right, I'm going to smash into that guy. He'll know, Archie, I'll go on that shoulder and look for an offload, but then he is at a level, and great that hopefully players look him and go, how can I be like him? And actually, it isn't that he might bench 250 kg. I don't know, some people do, but that's not his strength. But he's got the physicality, but it's that, as I said, the game understanding to know when is the right time to go for a jackal or to hit a hard line or to hit someone. It's that type of ability. Like Martin Williams was the best at going, like physically, he wasn't great at all. Like he was pre-season, he was terrible. He wasn't even mediocre. But you put a ball in his hand or put him on the pitch, and suddenly he doesn't. The guys who are chucking more tin around than him, where are they when the game starts? He's the one that has that game understanding. And again, I know we'll talk about kind of top level internationals, but that's what people have to understand: is you combine that ability and game understanding with the physicality and working hard off the pitch, and then whatever that looks like, whether that's your training, your fitness, whether that's jackling over the ball or your little handling drills, all of that has got to come together. And I guess that's where players will be better at certain parts than others, aren't they? And that's for coaches to go, well, we need to work on this part so your all-round game becomes as good as it can be.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a very, very fair point. I feel like I'm being a bit nosy now, so I'm going to cut all this rugby chat now. I want to chat about your career a second. Do you want to chat about your Wales career or your club career first?
Well, the Wales career won't take very long, will it? So we can get that one out of the way quite quickly if you want on it. But 13 caps doesn't take long, and lots of summer tours or USA and Canada.
Great places to tour.
Great places to tour, yeah. Great places.
I can imagine. I've spoken to a few people at Czech guy who went. I know he obviously hurt his leg, but it's good places. Enjoyed yourselves, and also back then wasn't quite as social media heavy either. So you could probably get away with a few more beers than normal.
No, there wasn't. Yeah, no, you could do, but you have to be careful of who your roommate was, because I roomed with Josh Turnbull. Who's obviously still playing international rugby now, which is great. Legend or top bloke, and done amazingly well for the Blues, been brilliant for them. But yeah, I was rooming with him, and so we were in Chicago, and I was on it must have been Zoom or Skype probably back then. And we had a Zoom then, but we had Skype to my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and said, "You doing tonight? Oh, just going to go out a bit of food and that. Like probably get some chicken or something like that." Yeah. So Turnbull comes in the room and goes, "Nicky, you coming to Hooters or not?" And I'm like, "Hello, go on, connection." I was like, "Fuck's sake, mate! I've got my laptop in front of me. What do you think I'm doing?" That was all right. But yeah, obviously no social media there. But they were fun tours. I mean, would I be sat here wishing I'd toured New Zealand or Australia rather than going to USA and Canada? Of course I would have, and those as a rugby experience would have been better, but for kind of your off the field experiences were great, and the pressure was off a lot more there. Probably not my second tour there, which was 2009. When was the 2009 where we'd had a good season with the Blues, and then I'd gone out there and the first game we were playing Canada, and we just obviously lost in the semi-final against Leicester, and I'd had probably the best season I'd had, and Neil Jenkins came and said, "Oh look, we're going with Dan Biggar first test," and I was literally gutted. Like, I didn't see it come in at all. Obviously a wise decision now that what Biggs has gone and done, but I was like, and they just went, "Oh look, because you're going to Gloucester, we want to give Biggar a go," and that, which I can completely understand. But at that point, it wasn't, the rules weren't, if you're leaving, you don't play for Wales. It was, if you're leaving, we're not, if it's a 50-50, we'll go with someone else. And so anyway, so he played that game and did right. Then I started the next game, and I was like, this is a massive game for me. Because I hadn't played that season, I think, and then you want to go and be able to prove yourself. And I was like, could be my last chance. And actually, we did all right. I did a little chip over the top, put John Fox in for his try, and didn't miss a kick. And I was like, doing all right. And then after about 50-odd minutes, 55 minutes, I think, got the old, number 10 substitution. I was like, fuck, went off and like kicked all the water bottles over. And I was like, fucking fuming I'd come off there. And that was the last time I played for Wales. So, like, I mean, those games and even that week, and I think if I look back, and in that week, I said to Muckers, who was the head coach, and I said, look, mate, I don't want to do any media this week. I want to just, I know the pressure's on me. I don't want those questions of someone going, is the pressure on you then? And that which naturally would have come. Not having to go at any of the journalists at all. Just that would have been. I just wanted to concentrate on my game, and I look back and go, did some of that work against me that I said I didn't want to do any media stuff or whatever? But it's fairly like, and anyway, that was the last one. And look, Biggs has come through and done unbelievably well. So.
It's interesting because, like you said about that season at the Blues, you obviously done well there. And is that the season you beat Gloucester in the final in the Anglo-Welsh and then moved to them the following summer? Yeah. And then you had two more finals the next 2 years, and like you played the majority of games for Gloucester. So ironically, I know Biggs has come. I don't know the guy, but I've heard he's a good bloke. He's come through and he's done well, amazing career so far, and he continues to do well. But you were also playing extremely well at the time. It just like I was looking through it. People like you're probably sick of them now, right? But Stephen Jones, Kerry Sweeney, Henson, Hook, Dan Bigger, like you just happen to come through at this time where Wales has produced so many players in your position. But like, would you go into camp? Like when you look back now, were you going into camp knowing you weren't going to play as much because there were favourites or whatever, or did you genuinely feel like you had a shot at the title every time?
Yeah, I genuinely felt as if I should have been playing. I thought I was, and I think if you don't think this, then I think you're possibly doing the wrong thing. But I thought I was better than Stephen Jones. I thought I could offer a lot more. He was obviously incredibly consistent, and maybe on reflection, maybe it's something I should have looked and gone, actually, he is better at me of these things and I should do it. But you go, no, I'm better than him. When I get my chance, I'll show that I am better. The same with Hookie. I thought he's not a 10. He should be playing 12. He's unbelievably talented, and all those others. And I would expect them all to say the same about themselves as well. So I don't think I'm being big-headed. That's my mentality was I should be getting picked, but I just need that opportunity. And I did get opportunities. I'm not saying I didn't, and I didn't take them and you look back and how you are in training and how much coaches look at that. And international rugby is different. You can't be too chilled out. You've got to be able to perform on those training sessions. And I guess, look, Steve, did he get 100 caps or not? I mean,
yeah, I think he was thereabouts.
But he's like Lions twice, wasn't he, as well? And you go, and he was so consistent, so good at what he was good at. We're talking about for young players now, and Steve was that. He was so good at, never the most naturally gifted, I guess, but his ability to read a game and his goal kick and his kick out of his hand and his everything, his defense was so good. He was so hard to kind of drop. Wasn't he such a good team man? I mean, I hated the bloke, so but that was because I was a position hater. But he's showing that in his coaching, the way you naturally see he would be a good coach. So yeah, like there's always games you go in. I went on the tour. We played Argentina twice when Mike Ruddock was coach, and it was me and Sweeney had gone as 10. Sweeney started the first test. I think it was out in Tucumán. It was somewhere in Puerto Madryn, somewhere that it was terrible. It was literally going back 30 years in time. Anyway, we lost the game, and I came on about 20 to go, and it was a really open game, and I did all right. And I started the second test, and the second test was when Shane got his hat trick in the first half against Argentina. And we beat them in Buenos Aires, which was a great win. It was brilliant. And then we flew to South Africa then. It was ridiculous to fly to South Africa then to play one test there. And I pulled my quad in the warm-up. And I had to have like an injection before going on the pitch again. I was like literally kicking the ball, my first kickoff. I was like, I just felt it pulling again. I was going, this can't be happening. I'm playing South Africa in Johannesburg, and I can't kick the ball because it's absolutely my quad is going to fall off. So I managed to get through 20 minutes of hobbling around, going like, this is an absolute disaster. And then off the back, then we had this off season, and I was ill then for about 3 or 4 months. So I missed the autumn internationals, and then 2008 then was when that was 2004, and then 2005. Obviously, they won the Grand Slam. So you're kind of like, how different could it have been if I'd started the season and would I've been in that squad, and could you pushed for a start then for that? Like, it's all ifs and buts for maybe. Exactly, yeah, exactly. But I definitely think, like, I had my opportunities. I wasn't consistent enough. I wasn't good enough at that level.
Does part of that come down to you get your opportunities where not necessarily the first choice pack are there? Because again, Wales went through a stage at one point where talented players, but the pack wasn't always getting parity. And then if you're always on the back foot, it's so much harder, especially for you as a more attacking-minded 10 than some of the others in terms of running and playing with the ball. It's so hard to do that on back foot ball. So, like, that's just a timing thing and just coincidences? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and of course, but then you have to, if that is the case, you have to show your strengths in managing a game. Then you can't just be an all-out runner and go, oh well, it's not my fault. We haven't got the ball, and just get turned over. You've got to be able to understand that. And I worked really hard on my kicking game. Worked with Neil Jenkins for most of my career while I was in Wales, and he was brilliant. And I'm really proud of where I got to out of hand. There was always that question mark with my goal kicking and consistency there, but it was something I worked really hard at, and that was something that I thought I got to a stage where I was as good as anybody tactically kicking off both feet, and something that I was really proud of.
I love that, like, goal kicking. You've had about 1,500 points, mate. Like, it's not like
I know, but but it was always it's hard because you get that reputation of being a bit inconsistent, and then you go, well. And then obviously we had Ben Blair at the Blues. So who was obviously world class. And at one point Ben had the yips at one point. Just couldn't kick. He literally said, "Oh, look, I can't do it anymore," and passed over to me. And I started kicking quite consistently well for the Blues in that, I think 2006, I think it might have been. And then I ruptured my quad. We played Stade Francais out in Paris, and I ruptured my quad in the game. So then he got them back on because I was out then for quite a while, and I couldn't. My kicking was kind of took a while to get back to where it was. But then obviously, he was world class kicker. So it's hard then when you're not kind of kicking consistently there. But like it was, I had a great career at the Blues, and obviously to finish when I left. After we won the LV Cup, EDF Cup, and then obviously the Heineken semi, which we never should have lost, but we did, and then to leave was even though going to Gloucester would looked a funny move because of where they were. We beat them by 50 points to 12. Was still in my head the right decision for me to make at that time. And look, I'd be lying if I thought, well, I wonder if I had stayed. Would I have played more for Wales? How would that have panned out? There's always those question marks, but not for not a second are they regrets, because what I did was what I loved being in Gloucester. And actually, there's nothing worse than being in Wales and not playing for Wales, because you can't escape it. Being in England and not playing for Wales, actually, England don't really care about what's going on in Welsh rugby, do they? So you're playing week in, week out club rugby in front of 12, 15,000 people. That's what's important at that point, as much as you want to play for Wales. But it was always quite nice not being there when all that stuff's going on.
But just before we get into your club career, like, what's if you were to describe, you look back at your Wales career now, you to describe it, how does it make you feel? Is it proud, frustrated, or like, I don't know, whether it, like, you slide indoors, like what's that just overarching feeling when you look back?
Immensely proud to play for my country. Like, the proudest moment of my career is standing next to my brother singing the national anthem, and I was lucky. I did that 3 times. So it was amazing, and a moment I'll never forget. Yeah, of course, mate. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Love that.
So that was huge. So that I'll never forget that, and that can never be taken away from me. would I love to have played more times for Wales? Yes, of course I would. But I know I've sat across the table from Jamie Roberts, who's played 96 times for Wales, and he would also like to play more for Wales as well. So I think there's always that kind of, what I'd like to have done this and done that. Like I would, of course, I would like to have done more for Wales and had some of the success that was around my era with the Grand Slams and being part of that, to have those memories. But I don't, and I'm a believer that things happen and that changes you in a positive way. That whatever happened in my international career actually might have helped my club career or helped me in my personal life and stuff. So I think whatever there is happened there, and I think there's always a positive outcome from it. Not playing for Wales, missing a kick, there will always be some positive out of that. You might not see it at that point, but there will be a positive for you.
And you just mentioned there, like, by not being under the scrutiny of playing for Wales week in, week out, and then moving across the bridge, did that almost take the pressure off you then? So you knew that, I know I'm not first choice now. I know that they want to bring bigger through. He's told me that. I'm going to grow across here and just enjoy myself. And you played some of your best rugby. Like, did it take the pressure off?
It definitely does, mate, because you all you focus on is your club and playing in well for them and being successful for them. In Wales, players will be thinking about playing for Wales for when they're playing for their region. Naturally, they might say that, and it's not obviously players who are on the fringes or in the squad. The reason for them playing regional rugby is to get fit to play for Wales. That's the reality of it. And I know people love playing for the regions and players have given everything for that. But I know that in the back of their mind, there's always that. It's always for Wales, isn't it? We always look at it. You're watching a Pro 14 game and going, oh, who's going to be in contention for the autumn squad? And always thinking like that. It's always, oh, someone's played well. Oh, I wonder if he'll get in the Welsh squad. And there's always that side of it because it's so big. Whereas especially a Welshman playing in England, you just, all I'm doing is I want to play well for Gloucester. And I wanted to play well because I wanted to play for Wales, of course. That was always, but that was a tiny part of it. Actually, I just wanted to win because I wanted us to be successful in Gloucester because I know we had the support in the crowds and the everything was geared towards just that. And there was a little bit of chat about English boys playing for England, but it was very little. It's still so much about club first and then country second. I think in Wales, it's country first, region is second.
So, young lad coming up through Glantaf, which has obviously produced tons of, Jamie, you and your brother, tons of lads there, right? Go to Cardiff, go to the Blues. Obviously, you were a bit of a fan favourite with the Blues, so I can imagine you're a bit of a house prize favourite as well with your dashing good looks. Like,
I was most eligible bachelor of the year in Wales. Joint most eligible bachelor, in Wales on Sunday.
With who?
Well, with my brother, wasn't it? Joint most eligible bachelor is terrible, isn't it? Takes the shine off it.
How much did you pay for that?
Oh no! Well, it was. Yeah, we enjoyed that for a half hour before the boys absolutely ragged us to pieces. But exactly a claim to fame, isn't it? Wales on Sunday, most eligible bachelors.
Hey mate, take what you can, pal.
No, exactly. If only now, Jesus, I'd love that. Dream of days of that now. No, I don't.
Exactly.
I don't think I was always the fans' favourite. I mean, I think that at times that the crowds at the Arms Park can be not fickle, but they expected certain performances. So there's definitely times where we got booed off at half time and things there. There's obviously a core group that are incredibly loyal and would never do that. But I think naturally with the City Club, you get people going down there on a Friday night who have gone, like, finish work, go and watch a game, which is great. But they want to be entertained, want to see that. So if it's not, then that, I think that's the one difference that maybe you get at Cardiff and at the Blues. But like I love going. We had some brilliant atmospheres. The Arms Park, mate, when it was full, was an awesome. It still is an awesome stadium. It was rocking. You get some great game. We played Newport. And I remember it was absolutely jam-packed there, and it was awesome there. I think that's what you kind of dreamt of. And then I've gone from when I was 19, I was playing youth 4 months before, and then suddenly you're playing the first team against Newport, against Shane Howarth and stuff. So and the atmospheres were brilliant. And I said those Jonah Lomu games, those derby matches were awesome games there. And actually sometimes you go in, as much as it was great to be moved games to the Millennium as it was, actually something going, actually would have been better just to have a jam-packed Arms Park and the atmosphere, like proper rugby ground, isn't it, there? That's could have been great. But I've got great memories of games there.
So why was it that you went across to Gloucester then? Like, what was, because being a home lad, I know we've touched on like the pressures and the Wales caps and stuff. I know, was it then that they signed Sam Norton-Knight? Because I read a quote, right? I think it might have been from Paul Williams. There's not many journalists that I follow, but I do follow him and I like a lot of what he says. And he said a couple of years ago, I think it was, and it was like, Cardiff didn't recover from you leaving for like a good 6-7 years in terms of fly-off replacements. Now, I can't remember everyone who played fly-off in that interim time, but they signed, was it then they signed Sam Norton-Knight?
Yeah, to be fair, it made me a better player when Sam signed, if I'm honest, because like he wasn't, it was funny because I left, I made a decision about March time to leave. And Di called me into his office and said, and this is when we were kind of discussing stuff, but I hadn't made a final decision. And Di called me and said, "Look, mate, we've signed another fly half." And I, as an emotional 27, went, "Oh, well, brilliant then. Right, I'm fucking leaving then. That's it. I'm going." and he went, "Hang on a minute now, hang on." And he said, "Look, we can't leave ourselves open. If you decide to leave," and I guess they were already thinking I was leaning on the side to leaving, "we can't leave ourselves open without a fly half." So Sweeney was there, obviously, would have been there. So there'd been one player, but they needed someone else. Di Flam was there. I think they wanted somebody else then. They couldn't leave themselves open. So they signed Sam. And I guess it was almost a bit of a cover yourselves. And if I would just, and they were still, "Look, we want you to stay. This isn't a, you can't stay now." They still wanted me to. What they would have done if I'd stayed, I guess we'll never know. But obviously then for me, the timing was perfect to leave. I always wanted to play elsewhere. I never thought I'm always going to play for Cardiff, even though Cardiff born and bred, and that's the team I grew up supporting and watched on the terraces. I always thought I'd like that experience of playing somewhere else, especially in England, of just seeing what that was like. And at the time, 27, you're going, could I stay again? And there was a small temptation to stay because of where we were as a squad and the players we had. There was almost that, God, I'd played enough years where we weren't particularly good and we didn't have great squads. We've now got to a point now where we're almost at our peak. Could I stay for another 2 years? But for me, it was the right time to leave Cardiff. It was, even though we'd beaten Gloucester and like Di, even when I'd signed with Gloucester, Di would text me going, like, "I've heard things aren't very good at Gloucester. Can we look at this again?" type thing. And even then I was like, it just felt right to go. It was never, there's never a part of me that's gone, "Oh no, what have I done?" Because I felt I'd done it for the right reasons. It was never about money. That didn't come into it. It was always about what's right rugby wise for me and for me as a person as well. And going to Gloucester then, and it turned out Dean Ryan got sacked over the summer, and it was a bit of a shambles. But that was out of my control as well. And actually, Brian Redpath came through. It was back to go. He took over with Carl Hogg, who I got on really well with. And actually, I really enjoyed the rugby that we did. We started off the season badly, and then we went on a run where we won like 20 home games in a row. And the second year we did really well and finished third. So and I made friends there that I'm still really good friends with now, and families are all friends and everything. So
you had a couple of finals. I think you beat Newcastle in the one final, didn't you, for the EDF or Anglo Welsh, whatever it is?
Yeah, I think it turned to LV by then. But yeah, that was you don't win many. I didn't win many trophies, so you remember those days really fondly. And I don't care who you or whatever trophy you've lifted, whatever league or whatever rugby you play, you win a trophy, you remember it, and you remember the night after, all part of it, because that's why you do it. And that was great. Just like the EDF was brilliant to win that with the Blues, but winning the LV for Gloucester was awesome. We had a we had a good run. We beat Newport or the Dragons in the semi-final, and then beat Newcastle in the final. But we should have played Harlequins actually. Harlequins just lost to Newcastle in the other semi. I think they got kicked last minute, and then it was almost oh God, we should beat Newcastle, but let's not fuck it up because Gloucester had a long history of losing finals, like in Premiership finals and European finals. So we won that, and we had the best 2-hour bus trip back from Northampton down to Gloucester when you got Leslie Vinacolo, who'd carry around this rucksack with him all day, thinking, what's in that, Les? You get on the bus and it's like rum, vodka, whiskey, everything, like a boombox on the bus, and boys just getting hammered for 2 hours. We left like the wives and the families on one bus, all like, nice, see you later, and literally falling off the bus, shirt stripped, everything. We had 2 hours, but that was awesome. That's kind of one of the best memories I've had there of that game.
I've listened to Tyndall on he does his own podcast and stuff, and he talks about like Gloucester was almost a little bit old school sometimes in its mentality, but that's why people loved it. Like, I've been to the Shed, and it's not glamorous, it's not like spectacular. It's got a bit of Cardiff blues about it actually. That it's all locals who love it, and they're there every week, and you get to know people. Like, I could go in the blues now, and I know loads of the sponsors and loads of the hospitality and loads of the staff, and it's got that feel to it almost. Is that why you loved it so much there?
Yeah, it had that hometown feel, isn't it? The rugby is Gloucester, isn't it? They've got a football team, but it's not particularly well. Cheltenham have actually gone up a bit this year, but it's a rugby town. So you get the people that will go there week in, week out, and you say stand there, and you get, and it's great. Like I went back there, last year before, and like the stewards are like recognize you as well, because they've been doing it for years and stuff. It's very much that, like, the support we had was amazing, because so the first year we lost. We finished sixth, but we had a really poor start, and we lost at home to Newcastle. I remember one game we lost a couple of home games, but there was always, and you'd walk out the stadium, and your car was you had to walk out the ground and around to the way your car was, and you go, oh God, and never was there any abuse or anything like that. It was always really positive and really nice and really friendly. Wherever you went was very much like that, and that's how it felt on the pitch as well. The support was amazing, and said and you ask anybody, home or away, they would always love going to Gloucester. Even if you get a hooker and you get abused, or your goal kicker and you get the E if you miss. But it's just a crowd there. It's something to play with, and that atmosphere is, and it's another great kind of rugby ground as well. That you get the old school Shed, and you've got a big stand as well, which has to come with corporate stuff, but it's still got that old school rugby feel to it. And I like that they're struggling as well at the moment, but I kind of want them to do as well. I want to take my lad to go and watch Gloucester as well, and to kind of hear that support. Class.
And then a couple of years at Wasps, Bristol in the Championship. What was and then you had a stint in France. I remember watching you actually in France. Like, what was that? Because you signed 3 years, and then obviously it didn't quite go to plan for the team, and you came back. Like, what was that little journey like?
Yeah, amazing, brilliant. I had signed for 3 years at Bristol. I had a year left at Bristol, and I got a phone call around Christmas time, and it was Olivier Zam, who I played with at Gloucester. Yeah. And there's so much, I say, with business or sport, it's about who you know, isn't it? It's about connections.
Completely.
And he said, look, I'm going to coach Oyonnax, and the coach is leaving, and the coach, Christophe Uros, his name is, who is now he went to Cass, and I think he's at Toulon now, I think, as well. Anyway, so he was leaving, but taking the fly half with him, a guy called Benjamin Urdipieta, an Argentinian guy. He's like, oh, he's going. So he needed a fly half. And I guess he's gone to, well, who do I know as a fly half? And he obviously, I didn't think he particularly rated me at Gloucester, actually. We were never particularly close or anything. We went out for beers, but like, I'd like you to come. So I was like, mate, and actually, I was with my brother, Jamie, who was playing in France at the time. And I was like, he said, like, Oyonnax, I think it was. He went, oh, mate, it's a shithole there. Well, he was in Agen, which isn't that much better. But I was like, Yeah, but I don't care. It's still all right. So anyway, I spoke to Andy Robbins and said, look, I've had an offer to go to France. They've offered me 3 years. Would you release me? And I think it worked out well with Andy as well, with what they were doing with some Welsh players. And to be fair to him, he said, like, it's a great opportunity. And like, I'd always wanted to go to France. I said about playing elsewhere, playing in England. I always thought, what's it like to play in France, play in the top 14. And I thought at 33, I'm never going to get that chance. So to get that was brilliant. And like we struggled off the pitch. He got sacked after 8 games. Typical French kind of politics. Yeah. He tried to bring loads of new players in. We signed loads of new players, and then when he sacked them, the new coach, the new guy who was a local guy, just picked all like the old guys, and there's a massive divide. So stereotypical French about it. But I still loved the games. Like we beat Bordeaux our first home game. We beat Bordeaux, and again, like walking around the ground after, and they're like stomping on the stands and all these, and there's there's only 25,000 people in the whole town, and there's like 15,000 at a game. So that's kind of it is properly all about the rugby. And even when we lose it, I think we don't think we won any away games at all that year. But at home, you still get great support and like for an experience again into what life experience is. To be able to go there, move out there. Yes, it was hard, but yeah, it was a massively rewarding. Definitely brought us closer as a family, and I got to experience to play in the top 14, which again, no one can take away from me. However, and actually, I kicked really well in that year under that kind of pressure. It didn't help us obviously, but I loved it. I loved it there. It was a great experience.
So I know I'm taking a bit of your time, so we'll wrap it up in a second, mate. But I've got a couple of things. So you probably get asked this loads. I'll come to this last, but a couple of things. You had one appearance for the Blues after you came back from Oyonnax. Is that right? I forgot about this. It was only when I was reading that you were coaching and then you were called in on the bench or something. Were you?
Yeah, I think I had. Was it 5 appearances? 5. I think it was 5. Yeah, I came. I got a call from Danny Wilson on a Wednesday night, and he and I said his name came up on the phone. I answered it. I had a few glasses of wine actually because it was Wednesday and you could then because I wasn't training or anything. And I went, I knew this call had come, and he was like, "Oh my god, this is a fucking disaster." Anyway, he said, "Look, we've had injuries, whatever. Would you come back? You keep yourself fit?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'd gone for one run and I tweaked my calf, so I had to walk back. And I think I've been on one bike session because we just had our second kid. So like training was like the least of my concerns. Is just trying to manage 2 kids under 2, whatever. So so I hadn't really done much. I did like literally Googled local gyms with an Alter G, like when these gym running machines you can run. So I thought, well, I'll get some running under my belt on that. So I'm not going to pull anything and thought that was Wednesday, and then a week Saturday, I'm on the bench against Ulster. Because I was like, I thought I'd have a week to bed in. He's like, "Oh yeah, no, you'd be right." Got there on the Monday, Tuesday, like, "Oh yeah, you're on the bench." I was like, "Fuck, please just body hold together." And then put Cuthy in for a try. Somehow slipped through two shackles who should be severely embarrassed by themselves, and then put Cuthy in. Thought, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Like, got the conversion under the 6, thankfully, and then running back going, "This is awesome!" And then 2 phases later, got charged down and they scored. So I was like, "That dream was over, wasn't it?" And then I came on a few times, but look, it was brilliant to go back there because I didn't want to finish. When I came back from France, I'd retire then because I wanted to go back to the Blues or to Gloucester or maybe Bristol, to somewhere I'd played before, and there weren't options to go there, which is why I retired. But I wanted to play at least another year. So to go back for 3 months, to go, "Oh my God, this is amazing," feel that buzz again. And by like the 3rd month, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to train. If someone said, "You don't have to train or play this week," I'd have gone, "Sweet, I don't want to do that." And I never felt that. You'd always like that desperation to play. So for me, I was really, really lucky and really grateful to have that opportunity and to finish where I started. That's just like perfect. How can you? I never kind of dreamt of trying to doing that. So look, not there's a fairy tale finish or anything, but for me personally, to finish at my hometown team is brilliant, and that kind of sits really nicely with me. And then to carry on coaching as well, which kept me in that environment. So my kind of my end of rugby, my transition, which is obviously a lot of people talk about that with kind of mental stuff, that actually of staying involved there with a good group of coaches I got on really well with was brilliant for me to kind of stay involved in the game. So like, I'm massively grateful to Danny and the Blues that I got that chance.
Did you appreciate it more because you knew the end was coming and you didn't think you were going to get that opportunity again? So to run out at the Arms Park, a couple last times and take the emotion in and take the crowd in, and did you appreciate it more?
I think I was so worried about getting injured and it being a disaster that you spent that was my biggest concern, that of running on after a minute, tweaking my hamstring and going, oh well, that's it now, isn't it? Because I was only there for 3 months. So there was the part where going back to the Vale to where we trained, where I'd left 6 years ago and everything, and seeing some of the boys that were coming through when I left and then playing with them and stuff was, you do like, and that's again memories of that kind of stay with you. But did I really kind of take in, go, oh God, this is amazing? Probably not, because you just said you're so concerned about just getting through it and hopefully not embarrassing yourself as well from it. So it's but to actually but to be there and to go back was something I loved, and you get that excitement as well of getting up early to travel to training and everything, and being in that environment was great. But then you have to remember doing like rucking drills and stuff like that, and you're going, oh God, I really don't want to do any of these anymore. I just want to play touch rugby and do a bit of kicking and stuff. That was it.
100%. Wait, two last things. I want to know what the future holds for you, but just before that, you've probably answered this a million times. What was it like when your missus is a very famous dad? What was it like meeting him for the first time? Because I've never heard you talk about this. Kenny Dalglish, like, what was that like for you? Were you nervous? Did you mess it up? Was it good?
Was he nervous, you saying, or was I nervous? You're asking.
Well, the king meeting the king, though.
Well, please, no. Yeah. Like, obviously, I think whoever your father-in-law is, when you meet them for the first time, you are a little bit, and the mother-in-law as well, isn't it? You got to make sure that they're on side. So I was, and because of who he was as well, is you are definitely, and actually, it nearly worked out really well for me, because we were going to Spain. So he said, "Look, come up to the house. We'll fly from up Manchester, which is near where they live. You just come in, say hello for like 10 minutes, and then we'll get a taxi to the airport." I was like, great, that's it, 10 minutes, and then you're away. And that's, we've gone, hello, I said hello, whatever. Yeah,
I can't fuck this up.
Yeah, it's fine. And that, like, I tell you the story. She was like, her mum got me like, well, I've got some cheese and pickle sandwiches for you, and I hate pickle. So I was like, oh yeah, great, thank you. I had to like munch my way through them. Only told like 10 years later, I like hate pickle and never had them. Anyway, so we got in the car to go to the airport. So I'm like, breathe, stop sweating, you're right now, you can go. Anyway, get on the motorway and there's a massive traffic jam. So we miss our flight. So we're like, right, well, there's a flight tomorrow morning, come back, and we're out for dinner with some friends. I was like, can we not just maybe just get an early night? I was like, no, we're going to have some dinner. I was like, oh, okay, fine. So I've gone there and they're sat there, and now they've met their friends. And it was Alan Hansen, who was there with a really good family friends. So now it's now Kenny and Alan Hansen and me, and they've had a few drinks, and I'm stone cold sober, and I'm like, can I have 3 beers, please, really quickly, just to kind of get that down you. But like it was fine. But it's literally like girls on one end, boys down the other, real old school. I'm like, okay, that's it. But he's fine. Now, to be fair, because I played sport, I had a bit of respect from him, not a lot, but a little bit at the start. So it's fine, mate.
Did you know a lot about football, or did it kind of go over your head a bit, or did they know anything about rugby?
No, he still doesn't know anything about rugby. I actually watched the first Lions test because we were out in Spain with him, and I'm still talking to him about rugby, and he's like, "What are you doing that for?" Like trying to, because he's the way his mind thinks is very simple. And I'm like, well, why are they doing like, and trying to talk about rucking and like, how can they be in front when they kick? How is that not offside? I'm like, oh, can I just watch a game, please? But no, I love Liverpool with my team. No one ever believes me when I say that, because they go, yeah, of course it was. But Liverpool, I grew up in the 80s and I supported Liverpool. James supported Man U. So it was, but Kenny was a bit before my time. I was like, I think I do remember him being manager when when he resigned and they lost to Everton in the FA Cup replay match. I think they lost like 4-3 at Goodison Park. So yeah, but it was. So I knew enough about it, but you got to be careful. You don't want to start. I'm not like a massive stato, so I'm not going to come out and go, "Oh, this game," and you'd be like, "What are you on about?" No, that didn't happen. So you just
suck off your nose.
Yeah. So you don't want to kind of you just listen, and then I'm not going to kind of chuck my pennies worth in about football really, because he knows a lot more. And he might ask me about rugby, but it's one thing I do know a bit more about it than him anyway. So
I love that. That's brilliant. What's the future, pal? What's the pipeline? What's going on? Are you still involved with the horses?
Yeah, I've got a share in one that's John Joe Neal's got him. He's a young 5-year-old, so with a couple of other guys. So but he didn't have a great finish of the last season. So I'm optimistic that he'll have a better year. He's going to go jumping this year with fences. He went over hurdles last year, so he's a big horse, but he's a little like me, a little bit one pace at the moment. So we need to find another gear for him. Otherwise, he might be going elsewhere. So that I love my horse racing. It's still something I'm massively passionate about with us. And just going to Cheltenham to watch the races, obviously if you get an interest in it, it helps as well. So that, and then like kids are growing up fast and loving their sport. So great, now we can take them back to watch stuff. So my eldest we took to watch when the Blues beat Poe in the semi-final at the Arms Park. He went to watch that game. So I'll take him down to watch the Blues and then try and get to watch a Wales game as well if we can. So although I said that to my missus and she was like, yeah, but I went to watch Wales England. She went with a mate a few years ago and she was like, I would not take my son to a game, all the language and all that. I was like, that's Wales England so as well. It's quite extreme. Normally it's pretty good there. Massive good England fans.
Good sports kids.
Yeah, they're right. They're competitive anyway. So they've definitely got that gene in them, and there's a bit of talent there. Whatever sport, I just want them to play any sport really they can. So, although the eldest one, he likes attacking again, a bit like his dad. Not the best, not the biggest of, and that's only in tag in defence. He's not that great. So, but and look, we'll see how business goes. That's a new career for me now, and obviously so looking after the boys and. Few of the Blues boys as well, so I'm still enjoying that and trying to help them out as best I can, and obviously the media stuff as well. So I look forward to getting back to some stadiums and some good atmospheres and also a few beers afterwards as well.
Good man. Hey, look, well, I hope we can have a couple of beers at some point for one of the games. We'll have a catch up, and I'll let you know when I'm down your way because I'll bring you a crate of Tiny Rebels. I'll get some different flavors in there for you, all right, boy?
I'll hold you to that, pal.
No, not a problem. I'm going to see him next week, so I'm sorting out. I'm going to. I don't know if you know Rob Webb, the hooker, used to play for England and Bath and that. But I'm going to Jersey.
Are you? I know Webb. Yeah. We played at Wasps together.
Wasps, yeah, of course. Right. So
legend of
I'm staying with him in Jersey. Yeah, staying with him next week. So I'm taking him a load of Tiny Rebels, and I'll pick you some up as well. And I'll get them down when I come down next. All right.
Yeah, he'll go through his faster than I'll go through mine. That's for a fact. He's a good northern swigger. He is. Well, so no, he's a top man. You'll have a good weekend. Yeah,
he's a good tourist. Fair play to him.
Sorry, mate, I just lost you. Yeah,
that's right. No, that's right. It's fine, do I? Mate, thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me on, pal. Appreciate it. Really enjoyed it.
Enjoyed that. Keep in touch. I'll drop you a message when the games are back up and running. We'll grab a beer somewhere in a bar 44 or something, and we'll catch up and watch a game and have a couple of beers, right, pal?
Yeah. You're not down tomorrow at Reese's box, are you, at the cricket?
Oh, I am. Yes, I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
There we are then. We'll see you tomorrow night then. Yeah.
Oh, I'm at the Ospreys Golf Day first.
Are you? Isn't that in Neath?
I have a tough job, mate.
Is it in Neath or somewhere else? Yeah. Are you playing golf?
Yeah. So I'm playing golf with Root Media. You know Dean at Root Media?
Yeah.
I'm playing golf with him, I think Cuffy and Paul Maddox from Heat Force. And then I think a few of them are staying, obviously, for the evening part of the golf day. But me and Dean are heading straight down to Safari Gardens, drop the car off and straight in for a few beers, mate.
Nice, mate. I'll be well, as Reece said about meeting up on Cathedral Road for a few first. So I'm down.
So we'll see.
I'm playing golf.
There.
Yeah, I'm playing golf with Jamie.
Yeah.
At Glamorganshire around, I think, about 12ish, something like that, and then we'll head in there, mate. So I'll catch up with then.
Class. I'll see you in there.
Top man, thanks for that, mate. Top man.
Thank you so much, pal.
Good luck in the golf ball as well. See you later, mate.
And you, try, bye.
Well, all right, get some tips off Cuffy as well. He's the man for tips.
Is he?
Yeah. I'll see you about when we were playing the Scarlets. You earned about 15 grand on the bus on the way down to the Scarlets game. Something like that. He had a fucking ridiculous tip. I think it was Boxing Day. Asking about that, his mate. What was his mate's name? I don't know, the trainers. He knows when the trainer and jockey from around Hartbury. Asking about that.
He's always, his missus always filming him on Instagram watching the races.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, not on social media, mate. Fuck that. Too old for that.
It's a vile place.
LinkedIn is it? Well, LinkedIn's the only one. I just end up but I know lots of people. It's good. It's good for lots of things, isn't it? To be fair, business wise and stuff. So we'll have to have a chat about some business stuff as well, mate. Well, I'll catch up with you tomorrow on that, mate.
Yeah, not a problem, pal. Anything we can do to help, right?
Legend, top man. See you tomorrow, mate.
Cheers. Catch you tomorrow.
Cheers. Bye bye.